We dive in now to topic number one. And on yesterday, on Thursday, I posted the story to Touchdown Alabama magazine, just basically bringing to everybody's attention the Wonderlic score of Jeudy, which he scored a 9 there on the Wonderlic test. The test, which consists of 50 questions. It is a time test, an IQ intelligence test that it dives into 3 forms of cognitive ability, which happen to be math, vocabulary, and reasoning. And as I posted the story, a lot of people wondered, well, Stephen, why did you post that? Why did you write that? It's no big deal. You could have left that alone. Well, in journalism, in media, in reporting, it's the journalist's job to report the news, whether good or bad. It's our job. Just like in healthcare professionals, it's their job to take care of the patients. They took an oath to do that. Firefighters, law enforcement, police officers, even down to pastors, they take oaths to do what they are told or what they are supposed to do. So same thing in journalism. Our job, or my job, is being to report the news, whether it be good or bad. And in this sense, just seeing how Jeudy, a prominent player, Jeudy, one of the big time prospects in this NFL draft, this story came out on him, had to put the story out. But along with Jeudy, quarterback Tua Tagovailoa posted a 13 on the Wonderlic test, which it was the lowest for this year's quarterback class in terms of the draft. Now, the average grades, the average scores for both positions, for quarterback, the average score is between 24 and 26. For wide receiver, the average score is between 17 and 19. Now, while many people would poke fun at Tua and Jeudy for these low scores, it's not the end of the world. The Wonderlic is not the end-all be-all. It doesn't give everything. And I say this because not everybody does well with standardized tests. Standardized tests are not for everybody. I take myself, for example. I come from a family that we don't do too well with standardized tests. And for the Wonderlic, in terms of athletes, it is the equivalent of the ACT or the SAT for your high school students that are getting ready to venture into the college world. And for me, I took the ACT 3 times. And I was one of those students that studied ridiculously hard for tests. Like, I was the guy that was putting quotation marks on stuff and highlighting stuff and underlining stuff and putting stuff in italics. And I was doing everything I could to make sure, I aced this particular test. And in my mind, I knew I was going to ace it just due to I got up each time, had a hearty breakfast. My mom would give me a piece of gum and say, chew this, sweetie, keep your mind calm, you're going to be just fine. And then they put the test on my desk, they throw a Scantron right there, and what do you know, my mind goes blank. And it went blank every single time. But I ended up getting the 19. It wasn't the end of the world. I go to the University of Alabama. I pursue a career. I pursued my major in journalism, graduated in 4 years, got my degree. It is mounted on my wall, and now I am in my career doing broadcast journalism, sports journalism, covering the Crimson Tide for TDA. So even though I made a 19 on the ACT, was not the end of the world for me. And so when I look at Jeudy and Tua Tagovailoa, kind of saying the same things here. They both made low scores, but not the end of the world. We have seen people make high scores on the Wonderlic and not really transition well to the next level, that being the National Football League, NFL. And we've seen guys that have made low scores on this test and go on to have Hall of Fame careers. So just looking at this from a quarterback perspective right quickly, Tua made a 13 on the Wonderlic. Dan Marino and Jim Kelly, 2 Pro Football Hall of Famers, they both each made a 15. And Jim Kelly was one who took the Buffalo Bills to 4 straight Super Bowl appearances in the 1990s. You have Donovan McNabb, who played for the Philadelphia Eagles. He made a 14, well, also the Washington Redskins. He made a 14 on the Wonderlic, and this was a 6-time Pro Bowler and a guy that appeared in the Super Bowl in the 2004 season, 2003-04 season, if I'm not mistaken, despite falling in that matchup to Tom Brady, still had a prolific career. And then you've got Lamar Jackson, the MVP of the NFL season last year made a 13 on the Wonderlic test. So you've got some guys that though they made some low scores, it was not the end of the world. It did not dictate the perception. It did not dictate their rise, their altitude, their mindset in terms of going into the NFL, dominating, being productive, being special. Even though Jeudy made a 9 on his, you have Julio Jones, former Alabama wide receiver, who made a 15 and is in the prime of his career with the Atlanta Falcons. Reggie Wayne, who was a big-time receiver, made a 13 on the Wonderlic. Percy Harvin, kind of your all-purpose guy, made a 12. Torrey Holt, who was a part of the greatest show on turf with the Rams that had Kurt Warner, Marshall Faulk, Isaac Bruce, Ricky Prohl. That Torrey Holt made 11, even down to Keyshawn Johnson, who was a big-time trash talker as well as a great receiver. He made 11. So, once again, just because this test score was low for Jeudy, not the end of the world. And let's be honest here. Tua and Jeudy are not going to enter an NFL roster. They're not going to enter an NFL franchise. They're not going to be asked, okay, guys, solve these quadratic equations. Okay, guys, solve the formula for pi. Okay, guys, put together the Pythagorean theorem. Okay, guys, solve for x. Do this trigonometry question right here. They're not going to be asked to do math in the NFL. For Tua, the main thing for him, as long as he can stay healthy, anticipate throws, have passes thrown accurately, precisely, maneuver around, manipulate the pocket, manipulate the eyes of defensive backs and linebackers, put the passes in the right spots for these guys can catch, go, make plays, make off-script throws, make ad-lib throws, and just keep himself healthy, protecting his body, using more of that quick game passing scheme to minimize the hits taken on his body. As long as he can do those things and help teams win games, help teams become perennial playoff teams, help a team, win a Super Bowl or multiple Super Bowls if that were to happen, and also, be a guy that can be a perennial Pro Bowler, a perennial All-Pro guy. Just do those things that set you apart as a quarterback. He's going to be fine. Same thing where Jeudy is concerned. If Jeudy continues to run incredible routes, set defensive backs up with the routes, create the separation upon getting off the line of scrimmage, beating press coverage, catching passes, turning upfield, scoring touchdowns, breaking ankles, leading teams to perennial playoff appearances, leading the team to multiple Super Bowls, just being a Hall of Fame type of player, the Wonderlic test score is not going to matter. I mean, at the end of the day, the only math that these two are going to be focused on would be how many stats can they pile up for Tua? How many passes can he complete? Can he get a strong completion percentage? Can he have a strong quarterback rating? Can he have a strong passer rating? How many passing yards can he have? How many total yards can he have? How many total touchdowns can he put up? And the biggest thing here, how much money will be in his paycheck so that he can provide for himself and his family? That's the most important math. That's the biggest math that's going to be on Tua's mind. The same thing for Jeudy. It's how many passes can I catch? How many yards can I total? How many touchdowns can I get? And most importantly, how much money will be in my contract so that I can make sure I am providing for myself and for my family. Those are the biggest things where math is concerned that these two young men have to focus on. At times, I feel like people put way too much stock in things that at times not really all that big. Yes, it's important, but not really all that major. For example, when you look at the NFL scouting combine for a minute here, offensive linemen, defensive linemen, and of course, outside linebackers, edge guys. You're not really concerned about the full 40-yard dash at the combine. Your main thing is that 10-yard split. Upon the snap of the ball, boom, how quickly can you get off the snap as a offensive lineman, get into your set, get into your base, get into your position, already have that support anchor down to shield defensive linemen away from the quarterback or be a road grader in the run game. In terms of defensive linemen, that first 10 yards, boom, upon the snap of the ball, how intent is your first step, how incredibly burstful is your first step in trying to make a play, knifing your way into the backfield to stop the quarterback or stop a running back. Same thing with, outside linebackers. Upon the snap of the ball, how intentional, how effective, how efficient is your first step in attacking the play. You don't really need the full 40, just need that first step. If you can run a full 40, great, but not necessarily the requirement for offensive linemen, defensive linemen, and outside linebackers. They're more so focused on those first 10 yards. So going back into the Wonderlic here, yes, it's a big deal. Yes, it has importance to it, much like the ACT and the SAT have importance to high schoolers looking to transition into college. But just because you don't get the score that you want to get, or just because you did not get the high, major big score, it's not something for you to beat yourself up about. As long as you can continue to go about life and achieve the things that you want to achieve, that's the primary thing. Same thing here with Tua and Jeudy. With Tua and Jeudy, as long as they go to the NFL and turn in Hall of Fame, productive numbers, marquee careers, nobody will care about what they made on the Wonderlic test score. That's just me. We take our first break here on In My Own Words, the podcast, hottest show on the streets, ladies and gentlemen. Upon our return, we dive into your phone calls, tweets, text messages, thoughts, questions, and concerns after this.
Every sports fan deserves the proper representation. Whitwell Sports introduces to you the Title Towel. Wave that Title Towel in the air like you just don't care. In support of Nick Saban and the Alabama Crimson Tide. Only $9.99 and it lasts a lifetime. Head on over to whitwellsports.com and get your Title Towel today. Touchdown Alabama Magazine is Alabama football's premier publication. A subscription to Touchdown Alabama Magazine is the perfect gift for any Alabama fan. For exclusive news and information, recruiting updates, a free annual print magazine, and more, go to touchdownalabama.com and click join. Only $5.95 per month or pay $49.95 for a full year subscription. That's a saving of almost $22. Make sure to subscribe before it's too late and get our new freshly printed end of the year magazine issue. Go to touchdownalabama.com today and roll Tide.
Thank you for watching Touchdown Alabama Magazine's YouTube channel. To continue to get the best in the Alabama football content, subscribe here and turn on your notifications to stay connected with the hottest shows covering your Crimson Tide.